Welcome, intrepid souls, to a land where the veil between worlds thins to a gossamer thread, a place where ancient stones breathe whispers of forgotten ages, and the very ground beneath your feet holds secrets too profound, too wondrous, and perhaps too terrifying for mere mortals to fully comprehend. What if the emerald hills of Ireland, bathed in the soft melancholic light of dawn, or shrouded in the deep, inky blackness of a starless night, are not merely landscapes, but living tapestries woven with the threads of powerful magic, the echoes of mighty kings, and the lingering presence of beings from realms beyond our ken. Imagine, if you will, a world where the past is never truly past, where curses etched into the very fabric of time still ripple through the generations, where sacred places lie submerged beneath the cold embrace of the waves, their bells still tolling in spectral silence, and where the unassuming humps of earth in quiet fields are, in fact, portals to the hidden kingdoms of the cedar, the fair folk, whose whims can bestow fortune or unravel the very threads of a human life. Are you ready to journey with me into the heart of these mysteries, to feel the ancient chill of the air, to hear the distant echoes of a forgotten battle cry, or the faint, otherworldly music carried on the wind, as we unearth the Emerald Isle's most profound and perplexing enigmas? Our odyssey begins not with a whisper, but with the thunderous resonance of ancestral power and the chilling echo of the ancient king's curses, the blight of Macha and the Red Branch Knights, a tale woven into the very soul of Ulster, a story of hubris, divine wrath, and a legacy of suffering that shaped a kingdom. Picture, if you can, the magnificent halls of Emain Macha, capital of the Uled, a powerful people brimming with strength and pride, their warriors, the legendary Red Branch Knights, renowned throughout the known world for their unparalleled might and their unwavering courage, a force so formidable that none dared challenge their dominion. Yet, even the greatest strength can be undone by the slightest flaw, a single act of cruelty or arrogance, and in this instance, it was the arrogance of King Conchobar MacNessa and the recklessness of his noblemen that invited a curse of unimaginable potency. They had forced a woman named Macha, possessed of a divine lineage and pregnant with twins, to race against the king's swiftest horses, despite her pleas and her desperate condition, merely to satisfy a chieftain's boast of his wife's speed. The scene must have been horrific. The queen, heavy with child, urged on by the jeering crowd, her muscles screaming, her breath ragged, finally collapsing across the finish line, delivering her twins in agony, their cries mingling with her own anguished shriek as she laid upon them the terrible guise, the primal curse that would forever shackle the Uled. For 9 generations, in their moments of greatest need, their strength would abandon them, replaced by the crushing pains of childbirth, debilitating them utterly, leaving them vulnerable and helpless. Can you imagine the terror of a mighty warrior, a slayer of men, suddenly writhing on the battlefield, clutching his belly, his roar of defiance turning into a moan of agony, his sword falling from nerveless fingers as the curse of Macha seized him? This was not merely a physical affliction. It was a psychological torment, a profound emasculation that struck at the very core of their warrior identity, transforming their most celebrated strength into their gravest weakness. For centuries, this ancestral wound festered, defining their battles, their defeats, and their very perception of self, a constant reminder of the day they scorned a goddess and paid the price in blood and anguish. The curse manifested most famously during the epic Tainbo Kwailnge, the cattle raid of Cooley, when Queen Medb of Connaught launched her devastating invasion, and the Uled, true to the prophecy, were struck down by their debilitating pangs, leaving only the young demigod Cuchulainn, too young to be affected by the curse, to stand alone against an entire army, fighting a desperate solitary war to defend his homeland. The air around Emain Macha, even now, seems to carry the faint, ghostly echoes of that ancient agony, a reminder that the echoes of past transgressions, especially those against the divine, resonate through time with an unsettling power. But if the ancient lands hold the echoes of royal curses, then the very waters of Ireland conceal secrets of profound sanctity and unimaginable loss, stories of drowned monasteries, the silent bells beneath the waves, where devout communities and their sacred structures were swallowed whole by the earth or the ravenous seas. Picture a tranquil lakeside settlement, perhaps nestled in a verdant valley, far from the clamour of the world, where the rhythmic chants of monks echoed through the morning mist, and the gentle lapping of the waves against the shore provided a natural symphony for prayer and contemplation. Then, imagine the horror, the terror, as the earth beneath them shudders, the waters rise with unnatural speed, or a catastrophic storm unleashes its fury, engulfing their world in a watery grave. One of the most poignant and widely recounted of these legends speaks of Lough Lean, near Killarney in County Kerry, a place of breathtaking beauty, yet rumoured to hide a lost city and a monastery beneath its shimmering surface. The story often begins with a sacred well, a spring of pure, life-giving water, guarded by a wise and ancient crone. This well, it is said, was enchanted, its waters forbidden to spill, lest a great flood be unleashed. But one fateful evening, perhaps through carelessness or a moment of thoughtless revelry, the well was left uncovered, its lid forgotten. Through the night, the waters rose, slowly at first, then with increasing speed and power, overflowing their bounds, creeping across the fields, engulfing homes, churches, and finally, the entire community, including a flourishing monastery, in a deluge that transformed the landscape forever. Can you feel the cold, murky water rising around your ankles, then your knees, as the frantic cries of the villagers are silenced one by one, replaced by the gurgling of the flood and the terrifying roar of the tempest? They say that on clear, still nights, when the moon casts an ethereal glow upon the lake's surface, you can peer into the depths and sometimes discern the faint, shimmering outlines of submerged towers and walls, ghost towns beneath the water, their stones bleached by the passage of centuries. More chilling still, it is whispered that on the eve of significant religious festivals, or in the deep silence of Christmas Eve, the ethereal sound of ancient bells, muffled but distinct, can be heard tolling from the cold depths of Lough Lean, a haunting reminder of the lives that ended abruptly, and the sacred spaces consecrated now to the silence of the abyss. These are not merely fanciful tales. They are deeply ingrained in the local psyche, influencing how people interact with the landscape, imbuing these lakes and coastal waters with a sense of profound reverence, a subtle apprehension, and a lingering sense of loss for the lost worlds that lie just beneath the surface, waiting to whisper their secrets to those who dare to listen. The air above these watery graves often feels heavy, charged with a melancholic energy, as if the souls of those lost still yearn for the land they once walked, their silent prayers still resonating through the cold, dark waters. And as we journey from the submerged sanctuaries to the subtle humps of earth scattered across the Irish countryside, we encounter another layer of profound mystery. Ireland's hidden fairy forts, gateways to the Cedar. These seemingly innocuous circular earthworks, often overgrown with hawthorn and briar, are known as raths, liocies, or ring forts, remnants of ancient dwellings from the Iron Age and early Christian periods, serving as protective enclosures for people and livestock. But in the collective memory of the Irish people, they are far more than mere archaeological sites. They are considered sacred, untouchable places, liminal spaces where the human world brushes against the other world, the domain of the Cedar, the fair folk, often referred to respectfully as the good. People out of a healthy blend of reverence and fear. Have you ever walked past one of these unassuming mounds, felt a sudden chill, or an inexplicable sense of unease, even on a warm, sunny day? Perhaps you've heard a faint, unidentifiable melody carried on the wind, or glimpsed a fleeting shadow at the periphery of your vision. These are not mere superstitions. They are deeply ingrained warnings, passed down through generations, urging respect, caution, and absolute non-interference with these ancient sites. It is said that to disturb a fairy fort, to plough it, to build upon it, or even to fell a tree within its boundaries, invites unimaginable misfortune. Crops will fail, livestock will sicken, homes will burn, and family members may fall ill, disappear, or suffer tragic accidents. Farmers, despite the economic pressures of modern agriculture, often meticulously plough around these ancient mounds, leaving them as untouched islands in vast fields, their refusal driven by a deep-seated fear of retribution from the powerful inhabitants of the other world. Can you imagine the invisible boundaries that exist within these spaces, unseen by the human eye, yet palpably felt by those sensitive enough to perceive them? The legends are rife with tales of people who, in their ignorance or defiance, suffered terrible fates. A man who cleared a fort to expand his pasture found his cattle dying mysteriously, his children plagued by illness, and his luck turning to perpetual misery. A woman who inadvertently built her house too close to a Leos was forever tormented by strange noises, mischievous poltergeists, and the chilling sensation of unseen eyes watching her every move, her dreams filled with unsettling visions. Some stories speak of people being taken by the Cedar after falling asleep within a fort, spirited away to their shimmering invisible realm, only to return years later, if at all, as hollowed-out versions of their former selves, having aged only days while decades passed in the human world. Others speak of encounters with the beautiful yet terrifying inhabitants themselves, glittering figures glimpsed in the twilight, or the sound of their eerie, enchanting music drawing unsuspecting travelers into their realm, making them dance until dawn, exhausted and disoriented, with no memory of the night's events. The very atmosphere within these forts feels different, thicker, as if the air itself vibrates with an unseen energy, a potent ancient magic that demands reverence and respect. They are not merely relics of the past. They are living, breathing entities, the very hearts of a hidden world, constantly reminding us that we share this land with beings whose power and intentions remain profoundly mysterious, and whose ancient claim to these territories goes back further than human memory can comprehend. These are but fragments, fleeting glimpses into the vast tapestry of Emerald Isle enigmas, a land where history, myth, and the supernatural are inextricably intertwined, where the lines between what is seen and what is unseen are blurred to the point of vanishing. From the searing pain of an ancient king's curse, still felt through generations of warriors, to the silent, watery graves of devout communities, their sacred bells echoing from the abyss, and to the unassuming earthen mounds that serve as potent gateways to the unseen realms of the Cedar Island. Whispers tales of profound wonder and chilling possibility. The air here is charged with more than just the scent of damp earth and salt. It carries the lingering essence of ancient magic, of forgotten prayers, of whispered warnings, and of the potent, unpredictable presence of the other world. Have you ever considered that the familiar world around you might be but one layer of reality, and that beneath it, or woven within it, exists a dimension brimming with forces both benevolent and terrifying? The Irish landscape, with its mist-shrouded mountains, its deep, dark bogs, and its wild, untamed coastline, seems to perpetually hum with this unspoken truth, a quiet affirmation that we are never truly alone, and that the legends we tell ourselves are not just stories, but echoes of a truth far stranger and more magnificent than we dare to admit. So, the next time you walk upon ancient ground, or gaze into the dark waters of a forgotten lake, or perhaps pass a lonely, overgrown ring fort in a quiet field, pause. Listen. Feel the air. For in that moment, you might just catch a glimpse, hear a faint whisper, or feel an undeniable presence that reminds you. The enigmas of the Emerald Isle are not just tales of the past. They are living, breathing realities, waiting for you to acknowledge their ancient, potent power and to question what other secrets still lie hidden just beyond the veil of our understanding. And perhaps, if you are truly attentive, you might even hear the distant ethereal tolling of a submerged bell, or feel the gentle, chilling touch of unseen fingers brushing your skin, a timeless reminder that the boundaries of our world are far more permeable than we ever dared to imagine.